Queensland tourism has been absolutely hammered by COVID for 2 years. Border closures and a ban on international tourists has seen some businesses collapse, others are just surviving. So in this election year, I remind you, there are a handful of marginal seats in North Queensland. Whoever wins government cannot do it without seats like Leichhardt, Herbert, Dawson and Capricornia. All seats that rely on the attraction of the Great Barrier Reef. So with that in mind, the government has made a big early commitment. Let's go live now to Jonathan Lee in Canberra. How much money are we talking about here, Jono, and how will it be spent?
Laura, it is certainly a big sum of money, $1 billion over 9 years. So this would take the government's contribution to the Marine Park 2050 program to the better part of $3 billion over 10 years. But you're talking 3 election terms here. And as you say, this is really all about shoring up those swing seats up in North Queensland. Leichhardt at 4.2%, Herbert, Capricornia, Flynn. But it's also about looking after those inner metropolitan seats, which are very concerned about climate change, which is certainly going to impact the coalition this election. The money itself will go to improving water quality, targeting the crown of thorns starfish and stopping the problems with runoff and sediment. They've had significant coral bleaching over the past 5 years. Susan Lee, the Minister, was out this morning talking about the government's effort to stop the Great Barrier Reef being downgraded and listed as endangered.
Of course, we had the issue of climate change that dominated those discussions last year. And our point was very strong. Why would you list our reef and not every single other reef? Because they're all equally affected by climate change. So that was a strong argument and, it met with support among the committee. This is long-term, really powerful investment that will make a difference because we know that in the face of climate change, we must build the most healthy and resilient reef.
Laura, by contrast, the opposition has offered $193 million over the next 4 years. It's a significantly smaller figure, but it is certainly much closer. I suppose the critics here would argue that it's very easy to promise money when you're pledging it over 10 years, 3 election terms. It's a long way into the future.
Yep, some might call it pie in the sky. So the critical question there is how much of this money will be spent in the forward estimates. We'll speak to Simon Birmingham about that, Jono. The government is also saying that new data shows the budget position has strengthened since we've come out of lockdown effectively.
Yeah, they're saying it's actually a lot better off, $8.5 billion better off over the first half of the financial year. The reason for that, they say, is because tax receipts are up significantly. Better explained, people are back in work, they're paying tax. When confidence is up, people spend money, and also welfare is down some $1.9 billion. Simon Birmingham is out and about this morning. He'll actually be in Western Sydney, where the new second airport is being constructed at Badgerys Creek. Not surprisingly, though, he's very upbeat about the latest numbers.
These figures do show that with unemployment down to 4.2%, with 1.7 million more Australians in jobs than when we were first elected, you get a dividend from that, of course, of fewer welfare payments and more taxpayers contributing more, and that really does improve the budget bottom line. And that's great news.
Yeah, in some crude numbers, Laura, we can show you basically a very small breakdown of how this looks on the screen. You can see there the tax receipts, 3.4 better off, welfare payments down at $1.9 billion. It doesn't add up to the 8.5 explicitly. The Minister tells us there's a lot of other little pieces to the puzzle, but they're certainly seeing this as good news, Laura.
OK, Jonathan Lee.